I had those moments where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. You have your dreams on it. What do you want to do when you grow up? Like, what do you see yourself doing as a career? I said, I want to have my own Taekwondo school. I feel like perspective is everything. And taking moments to sit with your thoughts, taking moments to journal, and kind of having that perspective.
Hello, my dear friends. My name is Sidorova, and this is my new series dedicated to in-depth conversations with incredible women leaders. And today we're going to talk to a very special gal. If you want to hear more of her story, as well as stories of other incredible women leaders, consider checking out my book in the description down below. And this is none other than Miss USA 2014 incredible Nia Sanchez.
And Miss USA 2014 is Nevada!
All right, Nia, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited to talk to you as a former pageant competitor and somebody who's been following your journey in particular. It's incredibly exciting. And I love, thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm excited to chat with you too.
So I love your Miss USA story because you competed in Miss California before Miss Nevada, and then you didn't win, you competed abroad, and then you finally competed in Miss Nevada and went all the way to Miss USA. So I love that you were very resilient, right? It's almost like you took each individual experience that built you up for your win. And then your dream was always to win Miss USA. So what was going on in your head when you were kept losing Miss California, and how did you come over it? Like, what kept you going? Was there maybe a specific moment or situation that made you such a fighter? Because I'm looking for a story here that people would be related to, like if Miss USA was able to overcome this, maybe I can. So if there's something that stands out that you feel like built you up for that, I would love to know that.
Absolutely. So I think as women, we are very good, for the most part, at learning from our past and using our past to make us stronger. So a lot of my story that people don't know is my childhood, where I know a lot of people come from divorced families, so we can all relate there, but a lot of us can. My parents were divorced and our life turned upside down. I was living in a women's shelter with my mom. We were sleeping on couches. We were essentially couch surfing, like just trying to find places to have a roof over our head for quite some time. And then if we kind of fast forward a little bit, we jump into my Taekwondo life and competition there, where when I first competed, I did not win, especially the first time I went to a international competition. I got a Spirit Award, which means like, thanks for showing up, but you get nothing. Even though you flew all the way over here, competed, gave it your all, you have nothing to walk away with. But I came back the next year after working really hard and ended up actually getting the Grand Champion Award, which is all first place. So I had a lot of different experiences that were hard and could have broken me, but instead I chose to use those experiences to make me stronger. So same thing goes for pageants or anything else in life, especially as women. I feel like if we zoom out, being really intentional on zooming out, seeing the big picture, seeing what you can learn from the hard experience, from the loss, from the disappointment, and how that can make you better, that can help motivate you to continue pushing forward. So yes, after pageants that I lost, I had those moments where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. You have your dreams on it and you want to win. But when I zoomed out, I took some time to breathe, eat pizza, all of that. When I zoomed out and looked at the big picture where my end goal was, I learned from the loss, I learned from the disappointment, and then I kept moving towards the goal.
Yeah, and actually my very first pageant, I also got a Spirit Award. So
we've been there. We've all been there.
Yeah. So going back to Taekwondo, even for me, for somebody who has been in pageants for a while, and somebody who knows that the world of pageants is a lot more diverse than people want to see it, even for me, having Taekwondo as a branding tool, and you really use it, like you really went on it. It wasn't just like a thing you did and you mentioned on other things. It was really something that you kind of expanded on and you made it a branding point. So how did you get to be so brave, and how did you get to be so, such a visionary that just takes something like that nobody would ever thought of doing and takes it to this level. So how do you get to be so brave with, things, pageants are pretty conservative.
Mhm.
It's a conservative world. So how do you, where's that coming from?
Honestly, it just came from my personal story and my heart and my experience. And it was something that I truly loved. When I was 19 at my first big pageant, and they asked me, "What do you want to do when you grow up? Like, what do you see yourself doing as a career?" I said, "I want to have my own Taekwondo school." So it was not just something that I did for only for fun. For me, Taekwondo was my lifestyle. It was something that I saw being part of my life far beyond pageants. Pageants was just a fun thing to do with that goal of Miss USA one day, but I wanted to continue to do Taekwondo and martial arts after. So yeah, it's something that definitely was a little different than everybody else, but I feel like different and unique is what makes you stand out and what can actually set you apart. You don't want to blend in with the crowd. You want to be set apart in a good way, but with something that comes from your heart that you truly love. So if you look at past winners too, I feel like those unique things, most people wouldn't think like someone in the army, for example, Deshauna would
Right.
be a pageant girl, but that's something that made her stand out amongst all the other beautiful, accomplished women. Same for Kyra being a scientist. Like there's so many amazing women that are able to stand out for being different. You just have to be brave enough to kind of stay true to who you are and not let the naysayers tell you that it's weird or it's too different.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot more women coming out with all sorts of different talents that we haven't seen before in the pageant world. But I think you were the trailblazer because back in the day, like 14, 15, we haven't had that yet. I think it's a lot more acceptable now. So you're one of the people who made it cool and made it common. So you should give yourself credit for that.
Thank you.
Um, Sure. So what were the major, so now I want to talk a little bit about your life past pageants, right? And you have an incredibly fulfilling life. And I think for women and women in show business in particular, there is this thing that, once we either age or once we kind of hit this major accomplishment, like winning an award or winning a pageant like you did, and it seems like kind of what's after, like it's all downhill after, and it's kind of hard to, for yourself mentally to just stay there on the high horse, and then for people to see you differently because they feel like, oh, you peaked when you were like 25 or
Right.
whatever. And then, so how did you overcome this transition? Maybe there's again a particular story that pops out, maybe something somebody said, or somebody in your family, someone in your family told you, or you just realized one day there is more to that, or maybe it was something during your Miss USA experience, because a lot of us have those high points and then it's just hard to transition and it's really easy to slip into depression and things like that. So how do you push yourself to ride that success wave?
Absolutely. So you're right. There is like kind of a big letdown after such an accomplishment. And you're like, well, what do I do now? What is going to bring me joy? What is my contribution? Like, how can I positively affect the world or people or my impact in a group of people? So for me, Daniel and I, my husband, we're very lucky. We sat down with what is it, kind of like a life coach,
Okay.
and this life coach, and this is something that maybe your readers might want to use. This life coach had us visualize the next 5 years, and within the next 5 years, what things would really make us happy. And we divided a piece of paper into 4 sections, and those sections didn't have to be anything specific. It didn't have to be work. It didn't have to be community. It didn't have to be personal life. You could divide it into sections that you feel like might bring you joy. So one for me was travel. I love travel. So one of my sections was travel, one was family, one was career. And I forget what my fourth one was specifically. I think it was community. And so you write down how you want to be living your life in the next 5 years within those 4 categories that are important to you. So for me, it gave me, again, a zoomed out big picture of what I want to do and what will bring me joy. And then from there, you kind of backtrack and you decide how you're going to create that life that you've just designed on a piece of paper. So it's like after this big accomplishment or your big goal that has been achieved in that peak moment, looking in the distance and saying, what do I now want to do? Like, what is my next goal? And then creating a life towards that. But you're right, it's hard with like the whole being in people's eyes and people seeing who you are and what you're doing. And now you're like, well, do I still want to be in the limelight, or do I have different goals that will bring me joy? And what's more important, having people know my name still, or personal joy and happiness and life happiness, relational happiness? So it just depends on what's important to that person. And nothing's wrong. If I wanted like tons of, more followers and on camera moments, that's okay too. I would just have to write that down and then make a plan on how to get there.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because it was really purposeful, and it's really incredible how you guys were so, you know, determined in doing this, and how you just went and you knew where to go, and it was a clear goal. You understood that you need some sort of transition. You didn't just, follow the flow and then see what happens. You were really on a mission here. I love that.
It helps to have a goal. Like you're working towards something else.
Yeah, you can't get where you don't see,
Exactly. I love that. You can't
yeah.
get to what you can't see. You have to visualize it. You have to know what you want.
Yeah, so kind of taking a step back to your pageant life and maybe your modeling life. I know I've heard in some interviews that you mentioned that at some point people wanted you to change your last name because it sounded too Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
And so changing the last name is something that people do in show business, and it's quite acceptable, for different reasons. I changed my name to Jen from Evgenia, right? Because it's just too hard for English speakers to pronounce it, and then they have to do it so many times. And then it's just always, there's an awkward pause before they announce my name, and they just and then there's just
right.
silence. So that's awkward. But yeah, people do that. And then, and for you, that would have been authentic too, because you have both European and Hispanic ancestry. So what made you resist that pressure? And you obviously were living with the last name Sanchez all your life. So
right.
This was probably one of the reasons. But
right.
what made you stick to your principles and so stay who you are? So what made you stay who you are?
Oh, that's a good one. I just feel like I had gotten to the point, especially through my years and years of competition, even with all the years of losing accumulating behind me, that I knew I wanted to show up 100% as me. And it was kind of a love it or leave it kind of thing. And getting to that point in my life where I just loved myself took a lot of self-work, and especially preparing for the pageant, I want to be ready mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. And part of that for me was staying true to myself and not listening to the people that wanted to change me for the possibility of success. It's like, if I'm going to be successful, I want to be successful as me, not as a different version of myself. But yeah, it was hard to hear someone say, well, if people know that you're Mexican, then you might not have as big of a chance to be successful. But that ended up being actually one of my favorite parts of my year, was how I was embraced by the Latin community. And it even makes me kind of emotional thinking about it now. Is like, I say true to being me, to being Nia Sanchez, and the Latin community embraced me in a way that I never could have expected. So I'm glad it ended up working out to stay true to me.
Yeah, definitely. I love that you kept it. And
had to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's important for a Latin community to hear the name Sanchez, right? I think it's very important.
I was the first Latina in, I think, about 11 years.
In Miss
And there's only been 4 Latinas in all of Miss USA history, maybe 3 or 4. And I think only 1 Asian.
It doesn't feel like that though, when
right? We have a lot of beautiful Black women, African American, different backgrounds, and we have a lot of white women. I'm also part white. But with Latin heritage, only 4. And I'm like, there's so many of us in this country when we need that representation when it comes to the pageant stage too.
I feel like there's so many Latin girls doing pageants too. So I'm
like, let's get some more of that Miss USA title.
So speaking of kind of people pushing you in a direction that you don't want, Were there any other times that you were pushed to do something you didn't want to, or you didn't feel like it was authentic to you throughout either Miss USA days or modeling days, or even these days? And I think for women, it's a very big deal. It's very important because it's just easy to get into the mindset, oh, if I don't do this now, I'm going to lose this opportunity.
Yep.
And so how do you overcome this sort of pressure throughout the years? How have you been doing this, and what made you, maybe again, there's a story maybe there somewhere. Yeah.
I feel like you overcome the pressure by practicing being disciplined and staying true to yourself. In martial arts, and when I teach women self-defense, I always say, listen to your gut. And I say that to them so many times, and I have the women in my classes say it out loud. Listen to your gut. And of course, that's for the self-defense world. When if you kind of have this gut feeling that you don't feel safe, listen to your gut, get to a safe place, be aware of your surroundings, listen to your gut. It's the same thing for being pressured into an uncomfortable circumstance, or even pressured into change that you don't want. And then a story for that is that when I was competing and I didn't listen to my gut, I was young and I felt like, oh, she must know what she's talking about. Even though I wasn't comfortable with it, I was told to dye my hair blonde. I was told to wear blue contact lenses. I was told to get a boob job. I didn't do that one. But I did all the other more, easier options. I had worn lighter contacts. I had blonde hair. And it was for the pageant title. And I really thought that that's what would take me to the next step. But again, being the authentic to yourself, I didn't feel like me. It was fun. Like, it's fun to color your hair. But when I was on stage trying to represent who I am and wanting to win that title, I didn't feel like my truest self. And I had that gut feeling that was like, oh, I don't want to do this. But I did it anyway because I was listening to authority. But in those moments, I really want to tell women at a young age, so hopefully they can learn from me, is listen to your gut. If you don't feel like it's right for you, don't do it. And people will actually respect you more for standing up for who you are and standing in your truth rather than just caving to their opinions all the time. So I think it's better if you can stand up for yourself and believe in who you are.
Yeah, and I think there's wisdom and lesson learned there, right? You tried listening to somebody else and you know now that doesn't really work out. So, and I think maybe pageants are actually a good place to do it, and try maybe play some other role, play dress up or whatever, and then see how it works out, because, it's still is a performance. So you're allowed to do that kind of, it's a good space for that, for experimentation.
Yeah. Totally. And like, that's the thing, like dyeing my hair, like that's a very small level, but when it comes to the big things, it's like, gotta listen to your gut. But hey, if you want to dye your hair, if you want to, try some different things, try it on if you're happy to do it. And if it doesn't work for you, that's fine. But you can try it on, just change back if you feel like it.
Yeah. So, I know that, I have a feeling that a lot of women, just going back to kind of, bringing this interview to the full circle and kind of going back to what we learned from men and women. I feel like a lot of women in leadership positions, or in show business, position of power, public figures, a lot of them think that they really need to be really masculine, or really almost like extra assertive, or assume some traditional male qualities, I would say. And with you, I feel like you have a lot of feminine energy, right? And you're still very strong, and you have this Taekwondo platform with you, and you project strength, right? Still, but again, there's a lot of femininity about you. And when people talk about you, they say how nice are you, like that's part of your brand, being like very nice and approachable and all of that. And it's a very good quality for someone who was Miss USA too, obviously. But see, like I guess what I'm trying to say is that in that sense, you're not only true to you, but you also really, you're a girl's girl, and you're very feminine, and at the same time you're really strong and assertive. How do you not surrender to the pressure of being, a little bit of a more, assuming some male qualities maybe, or just becoming, I don't know how to say it, but I guess I think you're getting
feeling kind of thing. I get what you're saying, and like how a lot of women can feel like we have to be more like a man would be in whatever position or role that is, whether it's work or friendships or anything like that, if it's more of like an authority figure. But I feel like perspective is everything, and taking moments to sit with your thoughts, taking moments to journal, and kind of having that perspective. Oh, are you there?
I am here. Yeah.
Okay, cool. The picture just switched for a second. But like I said, perspective is everything. And it's really if you can look at yourself and have that perspective of who I am. And for me, I'm a person of faith, like how God made me and how as a woman designed to be is actually a strength. But we women are so like fascinating and amazing that we can be strong, but we can be feminine, we can be soft, but we can also, speak our minds in a clear, effective, yet compassionate way. I just think that as a woman, we have so much power in staying true to ourselves, but also just being a strong woman. So I just think women are absolutely amazing, and we just need to stand in that and really own that, and kind of that zoom out, like zoom out and look at yourself and really see how amazing you are. Maybe it'll help to write it down, like write down all the amazing qualities of who you are and how you carry yourself, to remind yourself of how powerful you are as a woman. We all are.
Yeah, I think it's a great advice to write it down how powerful you are and remind yourself of that. And this is a great advice to give all of our viewers and all of the women who are going to be reading the book. And I mean, I think this is pretty much a wrap. It's been great talking to you. If you have a couple of more words that you want to say to the women who are trying to achieve bold goals, maybe fighting against adversity and maybe experiencing some incremental failure, but as much as you are fighting for achieving bold goals, what would you tell them? What would be your message?
One message would be to zoom out, see your big picture, and constantly remind yourself of that, so you're moving forward towards that goal every single day. And something is better than nothing. So it doesn't have to be 10 big steps towards your goal on one day. If all you can do is 1 or 2 big steps, that's fine. Just make sure you're moving towards your goal little by little every single day.
Yes, that's great advice. Well, thank you, Nia, for being here today. And it was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you. Bye.
Thanks again for watching. For more stories like this, subscribe to my channel and check out my new book about women leadership and success.